Ladies and gentlemen, there have been some really big changes to the new player experience here in Rise of Kingdoms. So today we're going to go over a couple of different things that I have noticed in the new Pioneer event servers, which I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I have no idea. Did they announce these changes somewhere? Like, did I miss this? I feel like these are big changes that I should not be like finding out about through YouTube and Discord comments, but also these are Pioneer testing changes, and so nothing in this video as far as I'm concerned is actually set in stone, so please keep that in mind. As a matter of fact, even this screenshot here might be outdated already. We'll talk about that in just a second, but of course first, what's going on, guys? Cheers. Okay, so apparently sometime this month there have been Pioneer servers that have been popping up. I think the earliest was 3772, maybe it could be earlier than that, I'm not sure. And again, you can let me know in the comments if this was like announced somewhere and everyone else knew about it except for me. I wouldn't be that surprised, to be honest with you guys, but regardless, as you can see here, they are implementing a second research queue in Rise of Kingdoms. Now I did start a new sort of character here in the latest server just to get my hands on this, and as you can see here, I'm not level, I think you need level 8 on your academy before you actually get the ability to get the next research queue. But as you can see here, there is already a difference that you can see. Even with only one research queue, you can see that the queue is up on the top slot here, and when you do unlock the second research queue, it's going to show up as a second slot over here, so you can literally research two different things at the exact same time for the first time ever in Rise of Kingdoms, which is very exciting. And that is not where these changes end, ladies and gentlemen, because we also have a third building queue. This is also, as you can see, both of these are bundle purchases. So historically you got your first building queue by just playing the game. The second building queue would show up in VIP 6, which is still the case, and now they are toying with the idea of adding a third building queue locked behind a bundle basically, and this, I mean, you just get another building queue, which is kind of insane. This is kind of insane. And here's the thing, a third building queue and a second research queue, I'm down for it. I'm here for it, right? By the way, as I mentioned before, I've seen people say that this is a $10 bundle now, so I don't know, you know, maybe they're still tweaking these things and that's why they haven't like officially, you know, announced anything. But my point is, and the main point I should say, is that I love the idea of a second research queue and a third building queue, but I do not like the idea of them being behind bundles. That is, I think, a big mistake, and here's why. Because in the position that I've been in, right, as a content creator for Rise of Kingdoms, I've also branched out into other games in the genre, right? We've played Call of Dragons, we've played Age of Empires Mobile, we've played Grand Cross Age of Titans, we've played Age of Apes, we've played so many of these games, right? We've played so many, and for that reason, a lot of times when you know I get sponsored to play some of these games now, and you know the developers will actually ask me for feedback, right? They'll be like, hey, like, you know, you know these games really well, can you just give us maybe some bullet points, some things you notice, some things that maybe we could do better, some things you like, whatever. And one of my main criticisms, one of the feedbacks that I always give these games, is that they always lock the second or third building queue behind a bundle, right? This is something that you see in all sorts of games just like this, and I always give the developers the feedback and say, hey, look, the second or third builder queue, whatever the game is, right? I'm not alienating a single game right here, because again, this happens so often in this genre of city builder game. I always tell them, like, hey, I love that there's a second builder queue, you have to make it, like, you have to make it so free to play can get it, right? And a lot of these games don't listen, and I mean, not to like pat myself on the back, but like those games aren't doing so well, okay? And I think it comes from a fundamental flawed perspective from these developers, where, you know, they think that like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, right? You can make progress through building free to play, right? But it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal, especially in the early game, where, you know, there's all these bundles that paying players can purchase to gain an advantage, and then on top of that, you know, having a second building queue is a doubling of building speed across the board. Having a second research queue is a doubling of research speed across the board. So one of the things that I've always praised Rise of Kingdoms for, kind of behind closed doors, one of the things that Rise of Kingdoms does really well for the beginning of the game and for free to play players and low spenders is that you can get the second builder queue by unlocking VIP 6, right? That is a brilliant middle ground here, because first of all, if you are a spending player, well, you're going to get this a lot easier, right? You could just gem it, you could buy a bunch of bundles and get VIP 6 very quickly, right? But at the same time, you as a free to play player still have a way to get the second builder queue, right? And that is a brilliant sort of middle ground here that Rise of Kingdoms stumbled upon out of the gate, right? Like when Rise of Kingdoms launched, it had this, right? There was never a bundle for a second building queue, and I've always thought that that was the best possible strategy to take for giving players faster progression in the early game. And so when I saw these screenshots, I was like, oh man, like it's almost as if they're taking pages out of their competitors' book, but their competitors are doing worse than them. And so it's one of those situations where it's like, actually don't copy the competition, right? Don't actually do what they're doing, because they're not doing that well. That's, at least that's my opinion, right? And you guys can let me know in the comment section below. So overall, you know, I've gotten a lot of people asking me, because yesterday's video we talked about how jumping projects seem to be a thing of the past. It seems like that is no longer going to be possible, and now there's only the sleeper strategy. If you missed that video, check that video out. It's very important, especially if you're a new player or a returning player, you're hoping to do a jump or whatever. But a lot of people ask me like, hey, what's your opinion on this stuff? And the truth is, I love the idea of a second research queue, I love the idea of a third building queue, but they can't be behind bundles. It's just such a huge advantage, and like out of the gate to have that massive advantage is really unfortunate. So I personally think they hit the nail right on the head when they locked these things into VIP, and I would encourage the devs, if they value my opinion at all, I don't know if they do, I mean, who am I, you know what I mean, like what do I know? But you know, I would say a better middle ground here would be move the second builder queue up to VIP 4 or 5, and then put the third builder queue at like 6 or 7, and then put the second research queue at like 9 or something like that, like 8 or 9, right? I think that would be good. I'm leaning more towards 8, because it does start to get like it really ramps up exponentially here. So like maybe 4, 6 and 8, you know, VIP 4 being the second builder queue, VIP 6 being the third builder queue, and then VIP 8 being the second research queue, maybe, right? I think that would be a very nice middle ground here, and I still think it's going to encourage spending, right? Like it's still going to get the same job done. Clearly the goal with these is to get people to spend more, right? Which is fine, it's a business, I'm fine with that, but there has to be a way for free to play players to get this as well. Like I can't really emphasize that enough. Like that is so demoralizing for a free to play player, and I see it, right? I get that feedback all the time with these other games that I play on the channel, and you know, I'll start an alliance in one of these new games, and free to play players, they check out on day one, because they're like, oh well, I can't even compete on the first day, let alone, you know, 6 months from now, and so they're not interested, right? And I think that's a huge advantage that Rise of Kingdoms has with the VIP 6 system that they have right now, and I would hate to see them give that up for like $5. Like really, $5, that's not that much money, right? Like it seems like the damage to the goodwill is worth way more than $5, right? So that's kind of my 2 cents here. Again, none of this is really like set in stone, because it's pioneer testing, and again, I've had people tell me this is a $10 bundle, and yet I have a screenshot of it being 15. We'll have to wait and see if there are any changes to any of this moving forward, but that's my thoughts and opinions on the second research queue and third building queue. But that is not the end of the changes that have actually been made here for the new players. So first of all, we have some new events here. Okay, now we've always had the Rise of Kingdoms event, but we now get Cao Cao here, which is interesting. We've always kind of gotten your starter epic commander, and then the legendary that we've always gotten our hands on was Cleopatra, right? And you would actually get that from, I think it was called Hero's Return or something like that, where it was a similar sort of situation where if you were a certain VIP level, you would get sculptures of Cleopatra. Now it looks like Cao Cao was the choice here, and then instead of that Hero's Return, we have a Voyage of Kingdoms, which is a sort of a one-time battle pass type thing that also has a completion reward here, and also a $10 bundle like to unlock the rest of the battle pass. This is interesting. I don't know if there's much value here, to be honest. Like even for a new player, like what is this, 10, 20, 26, so 30 gold keys for $10 plus the experience. I mean, the experience is nice because I know it it is a grind in the early game. It sets sufferance, those are gloves, so I mean you get some purple gloves right out of the gate, which is pretty good. But I mean $10, I don't know, man. Like it's hard for me to gauge this as an end game player, because like gold keys are actually useless in the end game. Like fundamentally they are actual garbage. Like if I never got another gold key for the rest of my time playing, it would fundamentally change nothing to me. So it's hard to gauge the value of these in the early game, because in the end game there is no value here, right? And I'm being hyperbolic, but like the value is, it's 0.1% of what it is on day one, right? So all in all, I think Cleopatra is a better reward here, especially if you're spending. So I don't know how that is. We have Glory of Battle. This is basically this is where you can get your hands on the Hidden Lotus skin. I think without jumping in the game, it might not be possible to get this as free to play anymore, but at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter. It's a 5% attack skin. I mean, I guess that moves the needle a little bit in kvk1, but at the end of the day, like if whales are going to go for the Hidden Lotus, I would say just let them, because like it really doesn't move the needle at all later down the line. So if you don't get this as free to play, literally it's fine, don't worry about it. This is one of the worst city skins in the game. Victory in Hand, I don't know if this is new. It seems new. I think this is new. This is basically like at the end of this event, whoever is the strongest, right, after the first week of the server, then you win 20 gold heads and 2,000 gems. I mean, hey, that's cool, right? I don't think this was in the game before, so it's literally just more free heads for those new players. That's fine. Expedition Dash, I don't think this was in the game earlier either, so this is cool. Basically the first person to complete mission 40 in Expedition gets 2,000 gems, a troop expansion, and some resources and speed up. So that's pretty cool. I think it's just you're giving those new players more things and also more reasons to speed up in the early game, right? Like you want to be the strongest, you want to be Expedition the fastest, you know, these are all like excuses or reasons for players to speed up their progress in the other game, which is fine. It is what it is. None of these rewards are like game breaking to the point where it like crushes free to play players. Like, are free to play players really going to get destroyed by the fact that the whales have 20 gold heads? And it's not even the whales, it's the whale, the one guy has 20 more heads. If you've spent enough to get rank 1 here, you've got way more advantages than just this. So you know, none of this really feels game breaking. It seems like a good thing to encourage new players to like really take the early game seriously. Alliance Ascension, this looks like almost like a Chronicles thing, because it's 49 days, and then as you kind of progress through here, you're getting some free rewards. So as you can see, this is the elite sculptures, and then you get some stars and some pick 1 resources and stuff like that. Here we have Meteoric Rise, and it says basically collect 10 of both commander sculptures to claim these rewards. So they want you to basically summon Cao Cao and summon Minamoto, right? And the theme of this is, and you'll notice that in the Rise of Kingdoms event you get Cao Cao as well, the theme of this early game is calves, right? You have the Hidden Lotus, you have Cao Cao, and now you have them basically like promoting like, hey, put these two commanders together, right? Put these two together, they belong together, and if you do, we'll even give you 100 more gems, 2 gold keys, whatever. The bonuses here, this is like negligible, right? Again, 100 gems is like nothing, 2 gold keys is like nothing. The 2 stars honestly are really valuable in the early game, so there's that. And then this is all just like the same events that we've always seen. We have Julius Caesar on the first mightiest governor, but also if we come into the tavern, they've also changed the tavern. So you'll see here that Cao Cao is actually featured in the tavern, and what that means is he's the only one. He's the only legendary that you can get in the tavern. Like, he's literally it. That's it, you're done, there's nothing else. You have in 8 days they will unlock more of these commanders, but it just seems really bizarre that it's only Cao Cao, right? Because he's arguably like not good. Like maybe in kvk1 he pops off for sure, but yeah, the fact that we've been locked to Cao Cao is very, very weird. So just a couple of changes I've noticed here. They're like really going all in on calves, which is fine, I guess, but it just feels, I don't know, it's almost like you're holding the hand of the player like more than ever, which I guess to an extent is okay, but it doesn't seem like necessary. Like, why do we have to do calves for the first week? Like, what if I don't want to do that? What if it's almost like you're, in a way, you're kind of, you know, incentivizing cav players to spend, but you're disincentivizing other players from spending, right? Because like, if I see this, I think, okay, well, in a week I'm gonna have the choice of way more commanders, right? and it's not like the drop chances have changed, right? I'm pretty sure this is the same drop rate as always, the benefit being that if you get a legendary sculpture, it will be Cao Cao every single time, right? So like that's the perk there, and I can understand the value of that, right? Because with so many gold key commanders, like it's your sculpture acquisition rate is so low, and when it's spread across so many commanders, like it's going to take you weeks to even like unlock some of these commanders because you just get them so slow. So I understand why they're doing that, right? And I actually do like that, but you should be able to pick the commander, I think, because like just being locked in like if I'm a big whale and I want to go all in on like Martel with Pyrus or something, or like I plan on maxing YSG and so I want the Mos, like I'm not going to spend on Cao Cao, right? Like what's the point of that? So I don't know. I mean, maybe those big spenders are going to be spending anyway, and so they're gonna get Minamoto, and so you might as well get Cao Cao, and so you can work on one March being calves, and then you can work on whatever your other March is a week later. Maybe that's the route they're going. I have no idea, but it seems to me like it would make more sense to just let players pick their legendary for the first week or something. I don't know. And in the same vein as that, why not make this a pick one as well, right? Like why do I have to get Cao Cao? I feel like it would be much better to let players choose here, because like why not, right? Why not? As a matter of fact, if you move through the menus too quickly and you open them in different ways, you can kind of glitch the game to show this little plus option, and that's for day 5. So maybe it's the case that on day 5 it's supposed to be a pick one, but like it's kind of just all glitched out now. So I don't know. My point is like maybe they were even floating that idea before settling on Cao Cao, and that's why it can kind of like glitch out like that. I have no idea, but like if they're thinking about that, my advice is do it. Like make this a pick one, make this featured commander a pick one, right? Like it only makes sense to do that in my opinion, because it just gives players the choice of getting what they want, right? One last thing that I thought about here with the new bundles that are showing up in the game, I wouldn't even hate if like you just had to straight up buy these for gems, right? Like if it literally just costed you like a few thousand gems for each of these, I think that would even be better than locking it behind VIP. It would be way more friendly, at least for the free-to-play players and low spenders. So that's just another quick a thought there. Also, there's no daily special offer, which is weird. Maybe it's because this is the first day of the server, which is fine. I think the ability to buy too many early game legendaries is a bad thing. Like for example, in Age of Empires Mobile, that was a huge problem that they had. There was so many hero bundles on day 1 that if you were a whale, you could basically max out like multiple heroes in the first week and have like multiple full armies of maxed legendaries, which is like kind of crazy. Now it would cost you like tens of thousands of dollars, so not many people did that, but like it's still, the fact that you could do that is annoying. So in one way, I think, you know, it's actually probably better that daily special offer is not here on day 1, and I just don't want to see them go down that path. So that's actually good. But when daily special offer does come around, because I know it's only going to be a couple of days where it's not here, it may only be the first day that it's on here. I actually have no idea. I haven't played a new account in a long time, but when it does come around again, that's another thing that like probably should not be locked to Cao Cao. If it still is, it just doesn't make sense, right? Like I just like, even if that is the case, let players kind of arrive at that conclusion on their own. Like that's where like guides would you know step in and make it like more like reasonable, right? Like as you can see here, like the in-game guide thing, people can look at it and be like, oh, like okay, well I'm getting Minamoto from the VIP anyway, I might as well go for Cao Cao. Whereas if you're a veteran player, then you might be like, oh actually I kind of know better, I know that Cao Cao is not going to age well, so I'm gonna go ahead and get like Mehmet or something like that, right? Like that would be a little bit more understandable. But also in the same vein as that, and I'm kind of rambling at this point, but with the commander swap feature, it almost doesn't even matter like kind of what direction they push players in the early game, because whatever the legendary is that you're going to be working on, you're gonna swap it, right? So I mean, in that regard, I guess that's fine. Like players have a way out there. I also noticed, and this is kind of funny, they don't even show you the other, like you can't even see the skills of the other legendaries, which is kind of crazy. It's almost like you don't even know how bad Cao Cao is for the first week until you get your hands on the other legendaries, and he's not the worst, right? Like you're gonna see Freddy and Caesar and all that and be like, oh okay, these commanders are garbage, but like I don't know, like Mehmet is better. I would say I would probably rather have Martel, Pyrus, Thutmose. Like there's lots of commanders I'd rather have over Cao Cao. So yeah, I don't know. But anyway guys, I'm kind of just rambling at this point, but I wanted to at least let you guys know that I am now seeing the changes that you guys have been trying to show me and I appreciate you guys letting me know that these things happened. Again, maybe I'm living under a rock. I have no idea where these things were announced, but I wanted to give you guys my thoughts and opinions on everything here, and hopefully if this video reaches the devs at some point, hopefully they can kind of see where I'm coming from when it comes to the importance of these two things being attainable by free-to-play players in some reasonable time frame, because I do think that these are great additions to the game. It's going to help players get closer to Season of Conquest, right, and make more progress by the time that they get there, so they can actually enjoy the end game. And there's going to be, you know, players who get there, who make it to the end game. There's plenty of other bundles for them to buy on the way there, and there's plenty for them to buy when they get there, right? So I feel like you're kind of selling yourself short by just trying to get a quick $5 or a quick 10-15 bucks, whereas like if the new player experience is dramatically improved by these two things, like the third builder queue and the second research queue, you may see much more spend on the back end anyway, right? That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Like if you want to put this in a monetary perspective, which is fine, again, like it's a business, so I totally get that. You know, I still think there's a financial argument to make these attainable as free to play, right? Also, there's the argument where if the whales get too much of an early game advantage, and not even whales, even like low spenders, like $5 is nothing, right? And that's like tripling your building speed over free to play players for the first few days until they get VIP 6, right? Like that's a big deal, right? So if the free-to-play players get too disadvantaged too quickly in the game, then they won't stick around, right? That's just how it is. And so like it's kind of, there's no point, because then who are the whales going to kill, right? Who are the paying players going to kill if not the free-to-play players, right? So that's kind of like just yet another argument that I would kind of point towards to say that like these things should be attainable from free-to-play by free-to-play, maybe not easily, but like it should still be able to be accomplished within the first, like, you know, 2 months of playing the game, like that, or like a month, something like that. I don't know, that's just my my final thoughts on this. Anyway guys, if you found this video interesting or thoughtful or informative, entertaining, whatever, drop a thumbs up on it, helps out the channel a ton. Subscribe while you're down there. Thank you guys so much for 85,000 subscribers. It's kind of insane. I'll probably have a video coming out after this where I encourage you to sub to get to 85. It's because I recorded that in advance. But anyway, thank you guys for 85,000. Comment down below your thoughts and opinions on all of this stuff. I would love to hear from you guys about these new changes for new players. What do you think? And just a reminder, these are pioneer testing, so this is not set in stone. Okay, it is not set in stone, so don't freak out, don't panic. Like this is a pioneer test, so we'll have to wait and see what actually happens and what they do decide and settle on. But let me know in your comment section below what you think of so far from what you've seen in this video. Thank you guys that have told me to check this stuff out, and with that being said guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Omniarch. I will talk to you guys again soon. Peace.